I am really, really happy all of you were able to come today. This is going to be a great webinar because everyone at one point or another has had to rethink their project or looked again at what were those risks that were identified or not identified that are now happening and putting our projects at risk. So I am really excited to share all of this information with you and then also to be able to answer any of your questions. So I'm very excited to get all of this started and have a great conversation today with everyone. I can tell you personally, right now, my project team is having an issue with a project. It has been delayed significantly. And as I was putting this webinar together, there was quite a few things that I was researching and found and went, oh yeah, I probably should have done that. And that would have helped us now greatly. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our topic today is project recovery, fixing troubled projects. And about this webinar, these are some of the materials that were used to create this webinar and to do all of the different research and information that I got through when I was looking at this. Let's see, I'm going to look at our questions. I've got some issues with audio. You may want to go back out and come back in again and see if that helps. Hopefully everyone else can hear me. All right, looks like he fixed his audio. So perfect. And I'm not seeing any other comments about audio, so I'm assuming everyone can hear me. I also have some content on copyright information, and you're going to be seeing this quite a bit in all of our slide deck here. But this document is not for use or disclosure outside of those who attend this webinar and may not be copied, recorded, or reproduced in any manner, in whole or in part, without the prior written consent of RMC Learning Solutions. And all of you are also going to receive a copy of this recorded webinar. So here I am. I have gotten a haircut and got my hair colored since this picture was taken. Looks like I probably need to update my picture a little bit. Again, my name is Cheryl Karstens. I'm the manager of curriculum development and a trainer at RMC Learning Solutions. I also have a cold. My voice is not normally quite this low. And I've got my Diet Coke next to me. I'm hoping that I do not have a coughing spell in the next hour. So I'm gonna take a sip. Excuse me. So as the manager of curriculum development, I am a course developer and a course reviewer. I have also reviewed both of our PMP exam prep books and will be very shortly working on our 12th edition for the new PMP exams certification test when it is revealed by PMI when that new exam is going to be coming out. I have over 20 years of experience in curriculum development and training. I am a 3-time speaker at PMI Global, This year I will be going to PMI Global, but I will not be speaking. But we are going to have a booth there. So if you're going to be in Phoenix November 12th through the 15th, please stop by and say hi and let us know that you have been attending our webinars. I would love to meet you. I hold a Bachelor's of Arts degree, and I've completed the courses for a Master's in Organizational Leadership. If you've attended a webinar with me before, you know I never quite got around to writing my thesis to graduate for my master's degree, but I did finish all of those classes. And I also then have my LinkedIn link on the slide. And I think it comes up towards the end too. So, a little bit about RMC Learning Solutions. We were founded in 1991 by Rita Mulcahy, and Rita was going to be taking the PMP exam and was shopping for a book and some study materials. And back in 1991, there were none. So, Rita drafted our very first PMP exam prep book, and that is the book that I will be going through very shortly and looking at for revisions for our 12th edition. We were purchased by Peterson's LLC in January of 2024, which has been just a great experience for me and for all of our team for RMC Learning Solutions. And our greatest claim to fame, we've helped over 1 million professionals prepare for certification exams. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. All right, hopefully that is not going to happen again. Our certifications exam are in project management, business analysis, and agile. And then we also have numerous learning solutions and products ranging from self-study to e-learning to classroom and instructor-led virtual courses. And one thing that I think is really cool is we also have an international reach. We currently are training in 60 regions and 18 languages around the globe. And I strongly believe that one of the reasons for our success is our outcome based learning through professional instructors, coaches, and mentors. And what outcome based learning means is that as a result of every class that you take, whether it's a self-study, an e-learning, or a virtual online class, you will leave with an action plan of different things that you have learned in class and that you're going to be working on or studying outside of class. And today, you will also have an action plan or 3 key takeaways from this session today. So, our agenda is to first identify a troubled project. We're going to talk about some recovery framework, how to rebuild the project, and then 3 tips that you can use today. So, have you faced a slipping project? So, according to PMI, nearly 70% of projects fail to meet its original goals. 70% is a huge number. Every project manager encounters troubled projects, and how you respond is the key to a successful project. So, what I would like you to do is in your question area, I would like you, oh, it looks like I didn't get my graphic over. as far as I should have. I would like to know why some of your projects are going off track or some of the issues that you have had in the past with your projects. So, if you could take a moment to list that in a question box. All right, I'm seeing lots and lots of things coming up in our question box. I am very excited to see because it means that everyone that is here kind of for that same reason, to help find ways to make our projects work a little bit better. We have unclear, inaccurate requirements, competing priorities, changing timeline, scope creep. Oh, we are going to talk about scope creep. Poorly defined by the stakeholders, missed requirements, changing requirements, scope not clearly defined, inadequate planning, lack of stakeholder alignment, project teams don't get their assignments done on time, lack of stakeholder engagement, poor project definition, lack of stakeholder engagement, changes in scope, unresponsive support teams, unrealistic due dates, customer changes to baseline scope, poor or non existent stakeholder response to requests, going off track or a change in scope, incompetent teams, a project manager wasn't actually managing anything, starting projects with unclear scope or unclear requirements or objectives. Oh my, we are seeing a lot of comments about stakeholder engagement, about scope, and about requirements. And all of those things actually are setting your project up to fail. And it does make it very, very difficult as a project manager to be able to actually manage a project when things are changing constantly during your project. So, we are going to be talking about all of those things today. And also, then, as a project manager, how you should be managing that project, how you should be saying no to scope creep. And that is, for me, one of my greatest things that I love to do for my stakeholders is to be able to tell them that can be part of the next project, but it doesn't make it into this project. So, why projects fall off the tracks? Unclear project or product scope, shifting priorities in the organization, a lack of solid risk management processes, poor stakeholder analysis and or alignment, and communication breakdowns. And I will tell you, in our project at RMC that we are currently working on, we have also gone through every single thing that is listed as why our projects fall off the tracks. So, some signs of trouble while you are working through your project. And I think these are key moments for you to really look at and really assess what is happening on your project. So, missed milestones, scope creep, constant rework, low team morale, and stakeholder frustration. I think the missed milestones for me is a huge red flag that my project is in trouble already at that very first milestone. And for our particular project at RMC, we've missed every milestone. We have gotten so far off track that now we are really struggling to finish this project. And when people ask, when is this project going to be done? I unfortunately have to say, I don't really know. And that, as a project manager, is terrible. It is bad for me as a project manager and making our schedule and getting everything all done. And it's also very bad for my future. I can't say exactly when we are going to be starting our next project because it's taken so much time for us to finish this current project that we're on. And there's a variety of reasons, and I'm going to be going through some of those reasons with all of you. So, what do we do when one of those items has taken place? We need to conduct a project health check. We need to pause and assess what the heck is going on our project. So, what's realistic moving forward? Going through, looking at your risk management process. If you have already done a risk management plan or project plan, going back and revisiting that. If you have not done one, you need to do one. And you need to figure out exactly where those risks are happening and whether that is an anticipated risk or a risk that has already taken place. It's very important for the project manager to be conscious of all of those risks as well as the project team and have a good risk management process in order to be able to overcome any of those risks. So, are the goals still aligned with the business needs? And this is looking at both your requirements and expectations of the key stakeholders. And sometimes in organizations, when they do have a major shift, their goals may no longer be in alignment. And that is a great time to get with that project sponsor and ask them, does it make sense for this project to continue? Do we need to stop? And if it's determined that no, it does not need to stop, then you need to talk about what those requirements and expectations are, and maybe they need to be realigned. And then where are we at with the project versus the plan? So, how are metrics being analyzed? How is the performance measurement baseline being evaluated? And for those of you that maybe do not have any metrics or do not have a performance measurement baseline, this is a key reason why you need to have metrics and you need to have a performance measurement baseline, because when those are out of whack, it is one of the first key indicators that your project is in trouble and that there are issues or something is happening with your project. So once you have identified, yes, there is something going on with my project, we want to identify and contain the issues. We want to reevaluate our performance measurement baseline, which again is our scope, schedule, and cost. We want to gain stakeholder alignment, and then we want to relaunch that project with clear expectations. And I can give you the perfect example of this. So, RMC has been working on a new course, a new book, new fast track, new hot topics for the PMI ACP exam That exam changed last November. And we got started on our new book right away in November of last year. And the key person who was working on that book then resigned from the company. And then that book was turned over to another group to start working on that book. Of course, they also had other priorities and different things that they were working on. So the ACP book ended up taking quite a few more months than it was originally anticipated. So it took until July for it to get finished. In the meantime, I also had other key team members who left the organization, and I did a lot of interviewing and hiring and training and getting all of my team members up to speed. So when that book came out in July, we were all ready to then attack and get all of the other materials done. Update our class, our fast track, our hot topics, our workbook, our instructor guides, everything. And that's what we are currently working on right now. So part of the main issue was it was no one's fault. It was just a matter of business and priorities and when we were able to get that work done. Quite honestly, I probably, if that book had been done sooner, and the amount of time that I was spending training and interviewing and hiring, I wouldn't have gotten much work done getting our classes or anything else done and created. But what I needed to do was I needed to realign that schedule, and I did not do that. I went into panic mode and worked with all of the Peterson's team and worked on getting everyone hired and trained. And that was obviously my priority, but I needed to also go back and look at my project plan, and I did not do that until July. And so then we were scrambling, trying to get everything all done and set up. So we are going to have a new class. We are going to have all of the materials out. Currently, you can purchase our new ACP book on Amazon. Um, all of those items are going to be done hopefully in October, and we're going to release and have a new class on how on getting prepared to take the ACP certification exam. So, someone has the comment on no clarity on how to measure project project performance. There is quite a few, and I'm going to go through a few different examples, but it should be part of your normal project management process to be looking at scope, schedule, and cost, and especially that schedule and that cost versus the performance measurement baseline, and also what you are actually doing and working on with that project. So when we are looking at building our recovery plan, the first thing that we need to do is to perform a root cause analysis. Understanding in that project what went wrong. So if it is a matter of scope creep, we need to go back to that root analysis and excuse me, determine why that scope was approved, how it got approved, who approved it, why was it not included in our original project charter or requirements, and really go through that process As I said earlier, I am the gatekeeper for scope. I have everything in my project charter listed out, what is included, and then also what is not included. And I include what is not included because if it comes up again, I want documentation to be able to go back and show to that stakeholder, yes, we already discussed this and we decided that it's not part of this project. Excuse me. It keeps a lot of scope creep out of the projects that we are working on. Because almost every time somebody is going to suggest something, it's going to be shot down, but they're going to try again. And I always put all of that information into my project charter so I can then go back and show that stakeholder. It might be in another project, but it's not going to be in this project right now. Excuse me. Prioritize the fixes. So, as I said, with our issue with our project, for me to prioritize the fixes to that project was to focus on the people and to make sure that I had team members and had the right people in to be able to work on that project when it was time to work on it. And sometimes that also may mean changing stakeholders. Maybe you have, or not stakeholders, I'm sorry, changing team members that are working on that project, especially in a schedule if that schedule gets off and you're trying to make up time and the person that's currently working on it does not have that level of experience, then it's possible you may need to switch that person out with somebody who does have more experience in order to be able to get that part of that project done faster. Then we want to reset deliverables and timelines and adjust resources and budget if needed. And those also do need to be discussed with the sponsor of the project. If it has really gotten off track, chances are the sponsor is already involved and already knows about the issues. And then it is up to us as project managers to give them more information about additional resources that we might need or budget or whatever type of change that we're going to be making to that project. And then we also need to possibly reset our scope and our schedule. So, looking at what the must haves and what the nice to haves are in the project. That can also be a conversation that you are having with that project sponsor. So, when you are discussing, excuse me, anything that needs to be uh, sorry, eliminated from the current scope. Also, in addition to the sponsor, you also need to talk to the customer. And this happens often with the schedule, and getting something done on time may actually mean that parts of the scope are going to not be able to be completed. Those nice to have items versus what actually is a requirement for that product. The baseline schedule with realistic targets, and then to document and communicate changes clearly. And again, this is an area that I admit now I need to do better. I need to really look at that schedule And then I need to be able to clearly communicate when our project is going to be done, who's going to be doing what, and make it clear of when our due dates are. It's not fair to anyone in your organization or your customers to be sitting and saying, well, we're going to get it, but we don't know when. That is our job as project managers, is to clearly define when all of that project work is going to be finished. So communication to rebuild trust. Be transparent and consistent. And this is something that I have done and communicated over and over again about the reasons why our project and our timeline just changed so significantly. And I've also been very consistent in communicating not only with my team, but also with leadership about what is happening with hiring and training and who's working on what and how involved do I need to be with them as they're still being trained. And all of that information I have been sharing with our leadership group and sending that consistent message that yes, we are working on this, but unfortunately, it is taking longer than it would have prior to our newer team members working on these projects now. So we want to tailor the message to our exec group, to the team, to customers, and make sure that each group understands what that desired outcome is and also that schedule. When is that going to be available for them? We acknowledge the challenges honestly. I have been very forthright about why my project has been significantly delayed and why we are continuing to work on it right now. It doesn't necessarily make everyone feel better, but it is the truth, and it is the reason why we are still continuing to work on our projects, and we are going to deliver a superior product when we are all done. And then show confidence in the new plan. And again, that is another area for me of opportunity. Confidence in our plan that we are going to get this done. We are going to have a new schedule and a release date. And one of the reasons that I personally am lacking in some of that confidence is because I haven't taken the time to make that. And I need to, so I can then respond back confidently and be able to show the team this is when everything is due and this is when we are going to be starting on our next project. So, cause and effect. The troubled project missed critical milestones. As I said before, that is one of the key indicators of a project having some type of issue. And when you are looking at creating a new plan for that specific project, or you're looking at your new project and getting it started after you've worked on a project that had issues, you really want to look at what those milestone dates are and really consider why that milestone date was missed. And if it was not identified in your risk management process, then you also want to reevaluate and look at your risk management process. Why was it not included? Did something external happen that made you miss that milestone, or was it internal? And when you start looking at what that cause and effect is, or that root cause, you do want to document what you're finding so you can use that on future projects. So, as many of you said, unclear requirements or scope creep was the issue with some of your past projects. That is very common, and it is a conversation that you need to have with your key stakeholders and also with your sponsor and probably your product manager as well, to make sure that whatever was added was absolutely necessary. And if it was, why wasn't it brought up when the original requirements were discussed? And I think that it is a really beneficial meeting to have, to be able to talk to all of your key stakeholders, either for that specific project or projects in the future, to make sure that they have an understanding of how your project is managed and what happens when either requirements are not sufficiently discussed, or you do have scope creep, and how that does impact not only the project, but the release date or the amount of resources that are being used in order to create that product. So for our recovery, then, we want to reset the scope and improve our stakeholder communication. And I find that often it is in some type of miscommunication that many of our projects do have issues, or those issues are realized from a lack of communication. Full disclosure, at RMC, when our ACP book was originally delayed, I didn't know that. I found out about it quite a while after it had stopped being worked on. And I needed to know that. I needed to be able to readjust the schedule, and I didn't know that. And so improving those communications is vital when you are impacting any type of project. And then our outcome is we want to deliver with revised goals and be on time. So, what are some of those 3 tips that we can use today? We can recognize early warning signs, missed milestones. We can also help build and execute a recovery plan. And then it's all about communication. And communication helps to be able to build trust, not only with our team members, but also with our stakeholders. And that communication with those key stakeholders is vital in creating that actual product. So, what I would like to do right now for a few moments is, in our question box, I would like to have you ask some questions about when your project does have issues, or some of those different areas where you are looking for some guidance in order to be able to help you get your project back on track. So I have, whoops, I had it out and then it went away. Let me get this back out. Sorry, I'm trying to get the question box, and it does not want to be bigger. But it has to be bigger so I can read the questions. We're getting there. All right. So, why projects go off track, sometimes due to a lack of accountability and lack of firm consequences management for underperforming activity owners. absolutely lack of accountability. And I always like to also think that you want to make sure that your team is also being held accountable. So if you have a milestone that has not been reached, oops, sorry, due to a team member not completing their task on time, then you need to be the person that is holding that person accountable and having some of those tough conversations. I've also worked in organizations that I had reviewers that were not good reviewers who took so much time in order to be able to review something that they pushed our projects and pushed our timeline. When that happens, you do need to be able to go to your sponsor and explain what exactly is happening and how that is impacting your entire project. All right. Whoops. Let me look for another one. Here we have a late delivery of international long lead items. That is a very, very tough place to be because you do not have control over getting those items. And so that is part of, or should be part of, your risk management process of what you are going to be doing if you do have a late delivery. And maybe that project does need to get shelved for a while until you do receive all of those materials. All right. Oh, I did it again. All right. Challenging deliverables or changing deliverables represent a challenge. Praise for sponsor support. A client reported 5 software defects a month before delivery. Now the project team needs to follow through the process and deliver. Oh, it moved. A go live date will be shifted. What could I have done as a project manager to deal with this delay? The very first thing is if that customer was, or your client was reporting those software defects, why did it get to the customer with those defects? So if you have any type of quality management process in place, you should have been able to identify what those defects were and work them through before it was delivered to your client. So that is one of those key pieces of risk management and quality management, is making sure that what you are giving to that client does not have any issues, because obviously we know rework and those issues are also going to affect that release date. All right. My question thing just did it again. I just got to make it bigger again. I apologize. I didn't even click on anything. I don't know why it did that. All right. The contract signed for too many items within the time allotted. Too many work streams, a lack of buy-in from teams responsible for the work in the contract. This is also, unfortunately, very common. It is often an issue in the organization with the sales team and the project team. And this also is why in PMI language, That project manager should be involved in any type of procurement or contracts being signed, so they can also tell if it is a realistic amount and be able to talk with that customer. That is the main issue, really, is between that contract being signed and that project team. And again, it comes down to communication. It is really about talking through what that project is and what it entails. And I'm not naive. I've worked for organizations that really don't care. After they've signed a contract, it's just, here, you go and get this done. But as a project manager, you do need to be able to speak to that procurement, the sponsor, the customer, your leadership group, whoever it is, and really talk through what those logistics are and be realistic. And I've had good managers who have listened, and I've also had bad managers who have said, I don't care, just get it done. In that last case, then that's what we did. And we generally blew our timeline because it wasn't realistic. And those are often the conversations that I will have is, yes, we will go ahead and do this, but there is no way we're going to make that timeline. So I can either give you a new timeline, or we can look at requirements that we can get done, but all of this work is not possible. And when you start having some of those types of conversations, hopefully your leadership group then understands, A, you know what you're talking about, and B, you can also give them some options in order to help work through that whole process. All right. Yes, the 3 tips slide is the correct slide we're on. I do have a few more to go through, but I wanted to make sure that I was getting your questions. Praise for sponsor support. Absolutely. If you have a sponsor that is working hard for you and your project team, make sure you thank them, and make sure that they understand exactly what what they're responsible for and how much they are helping you and that project. So some of our key takeaways are: every project will face challenges, and success is determined by how you respond, you, the project manager, you, the project team member. It is all about what is realistic and within your scheme of work of what you are able to get done. Be straightforward in analysis and performance measurement baselines, and be open to continuous improvement and share lessons learned. I do find that many people that I talk to, they do record lessons learned. They don't necessarily share them with everyone, and they don't necessarily share them with leadership. And it's important, as I keep talking about communication, it is really important that your leadership also is aware of lessons learned or things that are going to be different on a next project as a result of what you have learned from this specific project. They can't always anticipate everything that's going to happen. And it is up to us as project managers to be able to work through all of those different obstacles. And if you have a weaker project manager, keep in mind that it's going to take longer. So that is something that I've also dealt with in this past year with this project. All of my team is new. So I also keep reminding my leadership that this is going to take longer. It is taking longer because they have never done this before. So it's important that if you have a weaker project manager, that they are also getting some type of mentoring and also having conversations about what's going into their project in order to be able to help anticipate what those problems are, but then be able to work through them because they may not, unfortunately, notice them right away. I also want to give you our upcoming webinar schedule. On October 24th, we are going to be doing a really, really fun webinar on leveraging AI and automation in project management. So, automate smarter, lead better, and get certified. On November 21st, preparing for project management certifications, get certified and get ahead. And we are hoping that we're going to have some information at that point about the upcoming changes to the PMP exam, as well as our materials. And then December 12th, trends to watch, project management in 2026 and beyond. I personally love the end of the year because it helps you to start thinking about setting goals and what are you going to do in the next year, and all of that is exciting for me. So our webinars are also going to be looking at some of those tasks and being able to help anticipate for 2026 and definitely some of the changes that PMI is going to be making in 2026. Of course, we also have all of our other ways for you to currently prepare for the PMP exam before that exam does change. And most importantly, for most of you, is how to claim your PDU for going through and taking part in this webinar. Again, I do really apologize for coughing. I hope that was not too distracting. Our next webinar is going to be done by Cheryl Ide. I will be all better by then, but it will not be by me. So I hope everyone has a really great day. If you have any other questions, you can certainly put them into the question box, and I will be able to answer them for a few more minutes. But thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope that everyone took some good information away from this webinar today. And somebody did ask about getting the materials. Just a reminder that you will receive a recording of this webinar. Oh, when is it enough to consider to stop the project? That is a very good question. And it's really a question that your project team needs to be able to go through, as well as your project sponsor. And it goes back to those requirements and expectations. And if you're going to be able to meet those expectations, and then also what is that schedule? So if that schedule becomes so long that that project or what you're creating is going to be obsolete, then it's probably time to think about stopping that project and starting up on something else. All right, some great questions. Thank you. All right, I am not seeing any other questions, so I am going to go ahead and close out this webinar. Thank you very much for all of you for being here.